And blessed love, give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. You are about to listen to a very special interview. Listen and watch a very special interview that I did with Empress Marina Blake, attorney at law. This is dealing with the new faculty of understanding in Rastafari. And I mean, this discussion went to different levels, very, very provocative, something you'll want to stay tuned and take in. But what happened? Well, it's actually in two parts. And basically what happened, the first part of the interview, we had a little interruption, basically beyond any one of our control, any one of us, myself and the Empress. And what happened, really, we had to continue on another occasion. So basically, I have edited it to a degree and I've put them together. So you will basically obviously see the change of scenery to some degree, but it is the same continuation of the subject. Now, before we go into it, I'm sending out a very special and important call to a sister. This is Sister Chelsea. It's Chelsea or Chelsea? I think it's Chelsea, Chelsia, Chelsea. Yes, you would have emailed us within the past few days. This is concerning subscription and, of course, the event on the 4th of October. But for some reason, your email, we are not retrieving your email. I know I would have sent you certain things already, but there are other things that we have in store for you. So if you could just, I'm sure you're watching this video, please email us again. If we do not see that email coming in our next broadcast, we will still call to make sure that we make that connection again. So this is Sister Chelsea. Chelsea, your surname is here, but I do not want to expose all of that at all. I'm just hoping that you get the message. I mean, if your name is Chelsea and you have emailed us in the past few days, we are specifically speaking of you. All right, so without any further ado, we're going to go straight into the events of the evening. Blessed love to everyone. This is the Honorable Priest Isaac. I'm inviting you to join me on Sunday, the 4th of October 2020 at 7 p.m. sharp for the official online book launch of The Heavens Declare the Glory, our brand new electronic book. This evening, we will be also having a dynamic lecture entitled Rastafari and the Cosmos, where we will be going into the link between Haile Selassie I and the movements of the heavens and the astronomical clock. We will be speaking of his link as it relates to the biblical scriptures and the Solomonic dynasty, and we will be going into the connection of, yes, Haile Selassie and the ancient Kemetic Egyptian kings that people refer to as pharaohs. So you don't want to miss this. This is our first official online lecture. This is the 4th day of October 2020. It is a Sunday evening, 7 p.m. sharp. The entrance fee or the admission fee for this lecture is only $20, United States currency. But we have a special before the 11th of September. If you buy your ticket before the 11th of September, you will get it for only $13. Yes, $13 before the 11th of September. You can make your payments via Cash App, $, Aton-Ra 2723, capital A, T-O-N, capital R, capital A, 2723, Cash App, $, Aton 2723. Or if that is not available for you, you could just contact us via email, priestisaac27@gmail.com for more information. And of course, you will have to contact us via our email so we can send you your key that you will be able to enter into the lecture hall on the 4th of October, 7 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. We will have a wonderful lecture, online lecture. Many of you have been looking for Priest Isaac to come to your city and town. Now you can come to me and join us in the virtual world again for our first official online lecture, and it will be the official launch of the ebook entitled The Heavens Declare the Glory. Remember, this lecture is entitled Rastafari and the Cosmos. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Blessed love. Yes, wonderful. Give thanks again for your presence. Blessed love to each and every one. You're definitely here with us in the Tiger's Nest. Oh, we have a wonderful program this evening. We glorify Emperor Haile Selassie I in all good doings and sayings. We give thanks to the Father, give thanks to the Mother of creation, as you know, as the Black Christ, King Emmanuel, teach us that out of two, all things come. That's King Emmanuel, not out of three. King Emmanuel Charles Edwards Cecil. I didn't read it. I heard the voice of the man utter the words that some say, out of one come everything, but no, he said not out of one, out of two, Father and Mother of creation. That's King Emmanuel Charles Edwards' word. You know, he's a mystic with King Emmanuel. Eh? A lot of people think they know so much about him, and oh, Emmanuel tell them this and Emmanuel tell them that. And they do not do their diligent search and diligent research, but give thanks for those that, you know, have kept the information through the eons, I would say, through the ages, and have brought it to us in real time. Yes, of course, you know, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. We're going to have a wonderful program this evening. In a few moments, we have the Honorable Empress Marina Blake, attorney at law. She will be joining us, and we will be talking about the new faculty of thinking within Rastafari, and I'm definitely looking forward to this reasoning, looking forward to this conversation, this discussion. We are hoping to go on some different levels, and I must say the Honorable Empress, many of you would know her. She has written a few articles that have been quite provocative, and I've seen a few people respond to her. And basically what she's bringing to the forefront is, again, a new faculty of thinking. And he will say, well, we don't need no new thinking, give us the old time religion. Some people may say, well, no, man, we need to move with the times. Some people may say, well, it's not really a new thinking, but this is a growing organization, or a growing or a living organism, I should say, a living organism that continues to grow. So the new faculty of thinking, which may be new, but it's not different, it's just an advancement stage, you know, as you once creeped and then you crawl, or crawl and creep, and then you walk and run. That's the same way a lot of people are looking at it. While some are thinking that, well, listen, it's not really growth. Some of the stuff that we used to think and believe and do, we need to throw that away. We need to put the Bible away. We need to, some people believe that Rastafari is too Eurocentric. Anything with Abraham and all of that, that doesn't belong to us. Some people believe that Africa is not a key part of Rastafari. For example, some people think we need to affiliate more with the Orisha and Voodoo and these different things. So what is your perspective on it? Do you think Rastafari is too Eurocentric? Do you think that the Bible is something that we shouldn't be using? Do you think that the Abrahamic traditions doesn't belong to us? Do you think Rastafari is not African enough? Do you think Rastafari deals with the woman in a, what you would call, chauvinistic way? You know, just the other night I had a conversation with a Bingy man, you know, and he was telling me the woman shouldn't even say boo inside of the church. Not even, nothing at all. I found that quite, I don't even know if archaic is the right term, because things from the ancient times are usually good. But anyway, let me not preempt all of that. The Honorable Empress will be coming in. And the new faculty of thinking in Rastafari is not just a thought. It's actually an organization, and she will be giving us some more information on that. As you can clearly see, we are obviously highlighting for you. This is just a few days away. It's no longer 1 week, not even a strong, just a few days away. It's almost October, a few days from October, and the 4th of October is this Sunday. This Sunday, the 4th of October, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Caribbean time, sharp. So you need to go and check wherever you are. You may be in France, you may be in Spain, you may be in Italy, you may be in South Africa, Ghana. I can't give you all the times. You need to just, all you have to do is to check your search engine and see what time aligns with your time. 7 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. So whatever time it is in your neck of the woods, that's the time we're going to begin the lecture. Remember, this is our first official online lecture. We will be officially launching the ebook, The Heavens Declare the Glory. I mean, the space, as I said, is limited. And I mean, as the days are getting closer, I'm just encouraging everyone, if you're serious about being a part of this, you should definitely go and check the Cash App right away and make that $20 deposit for your space, because remember, this is online. This is the first time we're doing an online lecture. Again, it's not going to be a live YouTube for those who are missing the concept. No, we're not going to be live on Facebook. We will be utilizing an online webinar platform to fulfill this with certain gadgets as such that are part of it that we are quite happy with. For example, the question room that I speak of from time to time, which will allow us to be a bit more interactive, where you could actually ask your questions, not in the chat, in the question room, where in the question room, individuals could see your question and say, hey, that's the question I wanted to ask, and just vote on it. Even an individual may see it and say, well, listen, that's not the question I had, but that's a good question. And they could vote on your question too. So at the end of the lecture, I may see one question that has 12 points, a next question that has 8 points, and a next question that have 4 points. And I would use my wisdom and say, well, listen, the one with the 12 points, let us deal with that question first, because that's obviously what the majority of people want to get answered. So it's going to be quite interactive, and there are a lot of other elements to that lecture that I'm not going to break down now. I think we've spoken of that before. But again, the key thing is you catch us on the Cash App. This is the most preferable avenue that we're using for this event. Cash App Atonra 2723, ATONRA 2723. And as ones have been asking, yes, you could use the Cash App to do any sort of transaction as it relates to us here at the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. And of course, if you do not have the Cash App, which of course in all our videos we put the link in the description, if you do not have the Cash App, you could definitely contact us via the email priestisaac27@gmail.com, and we will work out exactly how you could make that payment for the lecture. You know, again, even if you Cash App us, although we'll have the info, I'm asking you humbly, still email us at priestisaac27@gmail.com so we could send you at the right time the key, so you could enter into the lecture hall on Sunday, the 4th of October. And of course, I see a few people that have definitely taken advantage of the reality that once you're a subscriber to the Shock of the Hour, you obviously will just naturally get your pass to this lecture. So I'm happy for those who would come and, you know, buy their lecture and pay for their lecture. But once you are a up-to-date subscriber, that's very key. Once you are up-to-date in your payment as a subscriber, for sure, you know you will be getting a pass to this lecture and all the other lectures. There are more lectures coming. In fact, we intend to do a lecture every month, and other programs that we will be doing utilizing the webinar platform, you know, even for the youths, the children, and our homeschool programming. Yeah, for those of you who are not on the homeschool programming, we have a international homeschool program, I should say. We have a special surprise for you. We will be doing a webinar homeschool program, which will be about an hour. It will be totally free. It will be totally free. We'll be giving you the information very soon, so your children can come in and sit in and see exactly what we do in our homeschool class. And that will be a whole hour. It'll be free. The children can interact with us. We're going to do our astronomy plus our African history and heritage. So look forward to that. You know, after this lecture on Sunday, you'll be hearing us speak a lot more about it. So just get the youths ready, get them prepared. This is going to be live, and the date will be announced very soon. All right. So again, once you are a subscriber, once you are on the subscription team, for sure, you definitely will come straight into the lecture hall. And let me just put this in your thought as well. Remember, we are officially launching the book. Let me just give you an idea of the book itself. The book, The Heavens Declare the Glory. Here it is, The Heavens Declare the Glory. And the title of the lecture for Sunday is Rastafari and the Cosmos, which is the subtitle for the book. Now, remember, this book, along with the True Biblical Land of Israel and the book Anu, we still have that for a special price. You know, each book is really $20 United States currency. And just to let you know, remember, each book is still on Amazon. You can go on Amazon if you are an Amazon fan. Some people seems to be Amazon fans, you know what I mean? Can I get it on Amazon? Well, yeah, but I have it right here. I can send it to you now. You know, I prefer to use Amazon. I don't know if you have a deal with Amazon or you have shares in Amazon, but it's up to you. I know for sure Amazon will not give you the 3-book bundle, and you're not going to get the month's worth free of the shock of the hour when you buy the 3 books on Amazon. But for sure, it's up to you. You know, no skin off my head at all, but for sure, you know, I would prefer you contact us and get the book, The True Biblical Land of Israel, Anu, and of course, The Heavens Declare the Glory. When you buy the 3 of them at only $50, you get a whole month worth of the shock of the hour. That's our radio program for those who don't know. That's aired every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right. And the fact that you do that, you'll already get your pass to come to the lecture on Sunday. So you see how everything is connected, and we make sure that everyone is satisfied. And let me be straight here, you know, we put value to our work. As you could see, we don't come here on Patreon and please donate and send something to us. We're not into that. We have quality service. That's one thing I do not ramp with. My service is quality. We don't come here begging nothing. My service, who don't want to buy it, that's their business. They don't know the value of what's here. And we make sure that you get more for your value. Not just the value, more. So you getting 3 books almost at the price of 2, plus you're getting a whole month's worth of a radio show that comes to you every night. And you get more than that, You get more than that, believe me. And then you still get your ticket to enter into the lecture on Sunday. So if I was you, I would, avail myself of that opportunity there. All right, wonderful. I think you've got the point there. As I said, we have a wonderful program this evening. The Honorable Empress Marina Blake will be coming in a few moments, and she will be definitely carrying us to another level. While we wait on her, let me just do this here. And remember, for all those checking the video, the link for the Cash App is in the description below. All right.
Oh, come, Emmanuel. Oh, come. Oh, come.
Yes, once again, blessed love to each and everyone. Welcome again. We definitely have the Honorable Empress with us as was promised. We have the Honorable Empress Marina Blake. She is definitely sitting with us this evening, and we will be talking about the new faculty of understanding in Rastafari. I think earlier I was saying the new faculty of thinking. The correct title is the new faculty of understanding within the realms of Rastafari. And the Honorable Empress is the convener of if that's the right title for this organization. It's an organization and it's also an idea. So she basically, I would say, the founder of such. As I said earlier, she is an attorney at law, And she will be speaking to us this evening as it relates to the organization and the ideas that really furnish the organization to where it is now and where she and the team expects the organization to go. So, Honorable Empress, blessed love and give thanks. Welcome to the Tiger's Nest. Um, of course, you know, our audience have been looking forward to this discussion. It is something that I know is and will be provocative as it relates to Rastafari and, you know, the concepts of Rastafari. And there are many different avenues as it relates to this. As I was saying earlier, some people consider Rastafari to be too Eurocentric. Some people consider that there's not enough African tradition within Rastafari, although, you know, Rastafari has held up Africa definitely geopolitically, but within their concepts, rituals, and rites, many people think it's too Eurocentric, Abrahamic, throw away the Bible. Some people think even voodoo and the Oshun and these things should be a part of it. Many people think that it's not really just a new thinking, but Rastafari is a living organism and it should be growing and developing. Some people think that it's just a total time for a change, and then there are those that will tell you do not remove the ancient landmarks that has been set, even according to the same scripture. So I know it is a very deep subject that has different avenues, and I would ask the Honorable Empress to, well, you know, first of all, say a few things about herself if it pleases her, and then she could give us a better understanding of what the new faculty of understanding within Rastafari is all about. Once again, welcome, Honorable Empress Marina Blake.
Give thanks, my Lord. Well, as you state, my name is Empress Marina, and I reside between New York and Ghana. I practice law in New York. I'm an attorney, as are two of my children are also attorneys in the practice with me. So that allows me some latitude to travel and to, you know, do other things while they take care of, you know, they tend to the shop, so to speak. So, right. So now, it's several months ago, I was, it just came to me that I wanted to add my voice. I don't remember what had happened or something that I may have read, and that actually inspired me to say, you know, I'm sending out this email, you know, I don't know if you were part of the original thread, my Lord, but I sent out an email stating that I would like to officially join my voice with the other voices that have been calling for a new faculty of understanding for Rastafari. Now, some people say new faculty of interpretation or new faculty of understanding, whatever. But I think we're getting to, you know, we're getting to the same point. Muta, actually, Muta Baruka, his voice has been very, very prominent in this call, has been others, you know, here in the diaspora, but also on the continent, really saying that we need to, you know, we need to revise or review and, you know, re-examine the original tenets, the doctrine, and check, you know, check to see if it is responsive, how relevant it is to today's, you know, to the problems that Black people are facing today. Is it living up to its original billing? Have we gone? I don't know. Have we become unmoored? You know. So I don't know. You know, Honorable Priest Isaac. Right. There are a lot of questions. There are just a lot of questions, and we
Definitely.
say it's time then, because there are so many questions. Let us get able and start talking.
So you asking the you mentioned Brother Muta Baruka, and you say now looking at, you know, the doctrine in general, if it's beneficial. Now, Rastafari is a very dynamic movement that is filled with many different ideas and outlooks of the same thing. And because of such, you know, branches and mansions and houses, and I'm just using these terms because these are the terms people use. You know, my idea of the scripture that highlights mansions and houses may be a different idea, but for the moment, let's just keep it on that level. So the different mansions and the branches and the houses, basically came out, I guess, of the different ideas that already existed from the foundation, or if not the foundation, but not too far from the foundation for sure. So when you speak of that, the ancient doctrine or the old doctrine, do you mean the basic doctrine? Because when I say basic, they're basic things I would believe that Rastafari in general have in common. But then we know obviously of the Nyabingi theocracy of Rastafari, the Bobo Shanti order, the EABIC, the 12 tribe, and then the other different, Beta Selassie and if you want to put in EWF, although some will say that's not really a Rastafari organization. So are we looking at the basic concept, which there are a few basic concepts like Haile Selassie's divinity, etc. Or are we going into the different houses now and shaking up the different ideology? Or are we trying to create a oneness within the thinking?
Well, before we even go any further, I want to make myself clear with respect to the question of whether or not Rastafari is still relevant for Black people. Rastafari is and will forever remain relevant to Black people. I want to say that unequivocally. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
The universal feeling, and I want to underscore that by explaining this. The universal feeling of despair and hopelessness experienced by Black people throughout the world can only be answered by Rastafari, which provides hope and restores dignity to the Black man. Let me just say that as a declaration up front, that Rastafari is relevant. It is very much relevant, because without Rastafari here in the West, in particular, where we have been divorced from our Africanness, our African culture, our history, our traditions, our customs, Rastafari is the only vehicle, and it's the only vehicle that is relevant to Black people's situation. As far as I am concerned, Rastafari is the perfect conversion of spirituality and cultural pride for Black people. So I want to be clear and unequivocal on that point. So I am not even questioning whether Rastafari is still needed, whether it's still relevant for Black people. I am simply saying that Rastafari, as it is presently constituted and being practiced, have we become stagnant? Should it not be more adaptable to contemporary situations? Right? Is it adequately addressing the means the way it was designed to? That is more the question, and not whether or not Rastafari is still good. It's still good for Black people, or it's still relevant. It is relevant, and it will remain relevant. As I said, in particular for those of us here in the diaspora who do not have indigenous African culture, there is nothing else. I wanted to make myself clear on that point.
Yes.
Have I made myself clear, my lord?
Yes, Rastafari is relevant.
And remains, it is more than that. It is out the lifeblood for I and I here in the West. Out it, we are nothing.
Okay, so right. So if you see it obviously going down the road, you need to get it on the right.
Yes. Rastafari stands as a rebuke to white supremacy, to colonialism, to inequity, to injustice. That is, we are the moral compass of the world. So it can never become irrelevant. It can never become outdated. No, right. Is it living up to its fullest potential? That is more the question. Is it living up to its fullest potential? The culture is so powerful, but I don't think we're utilizing it to its fullest potential. We're wasting it. There is nothing more. Rastafari is a redemptive culture, But black people, you know, it has, you know, it takes us out of the ashes, because everything that we have been taught, everything that we learn, it is that white is supreme and that black is at the bottom. We have been marginalized, we have been oppressed, we have been brutalized, we have been enslaved, we have been colonized, so that we don't even have the sense of self-worth that we're supposed to have. It is Rastafari that has given that back to us. In fact, long before I even, you know, started, as I said, adding my voice to this, the call for a new interpretation, a faculty of understanding, I have been working on an article for quite some time now, tentatively entitled, Understanding Rastafari. I've been working on it now for a few years, actually. And, you know, it's a work in progress. And then, you know, this came along, and I have sort of segued and been giving my full attention to this project now, this new faculty of understanding for Rastafari. But all we're talking about is not, it has nothing to do with sort of getting rid of Rastafari, because without Rastafari, there's nothing for black people. Again, it is the perfect convergence between cultural pride and spirituality for black people. That's why white man can't be part of this. You understand? This is black people's thing. So,
You know the word. Let me take my notes. You go ahead, talk. Let me take. I'll take my notes.
And you don't want it a question, sort of like a question and answer format. All right, then I will talk, because talking is something that I like doing.
Oh no, if you want me to ask you now, no. I can ask you right now, no. I just didn't want to interrupt you. So what you just said a while ago, let me just be clear. What you said, so that is why white people not supposed to be a part of this.
No, they cannot. It's not for them. It's not for them. A priest tell me something a couple of years ago. A priest, he told me something, you know, quite, it's funny. He says, we are the Cinderella. The white people, them are the ugly stepsister, them foot can't fit the glass slippers. They're trying to get them foot into the glass slippers, but it cannot fit. So yes, you know, it's sort of analogy, but I think it drives the point home. I think it drives the point home, you know, although in a sort of you know, jovial way.
But tell you what, and I go highlight that point. I don't want to stop the flow you on, but I highlight the point, and believe me, I coming back to that before we leave here tonight, so we can balance that out properly. But continue. But I'm keeping my notes.
My Lord, I don't know if you're aware that I had been rebuked on that point before, because of my continued that this is not a white man's thing. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Constitution of the EABIC said no white men. The Constitution of the EABIC says no white men can be part of this organization. So it is not a mystery. You understand?
Yes.
It is not, Eric, it is not hidden. Listen to me, my Lord. The name of the Congress is the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. Let's say it again. Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. Right. And if we were too stupid to get it, after the man said 3 different times, he came back and he called us Bobo Shanti, meaning black people. In case we didn't get it the first 3 times when he said Ethiopia Africa Black, in case we missed the point, right, came back and he said Bobo Shanti to underscore the Ethiopia Africa Black, so that we can understand clearly, without equivocation, without spelling and guessing. This is for black people, but not just the EABIC, it is Rastafari in general. It is something, black people need we need a safe space to go and resolve our problems. We need a safe space outside of the gaze of the white man, free from his scrutiny. He controls us in every other way, in every other sphere of life, every other aspect. We need a safe space. We want to decompress. We're tired. Rastafari offers us that safe harbor. Lo and behold, white man is trying to invade. No, it cannot. No. It is perverse. It is perverse. It cannot stand.
Rastafari.
On that point, yeah.
I still coming back to it, eh? But continue.
I tell you,
like you want to stick there now, I don't want to stick there yet, eh?
That point.
Okay, we stick there, we turn the show into that. But I want to hear the other aspect, but I coming back to it. We have time.
All right, yes, because
Right.
that is a source question, you know, because I've been by the Congress, you know. I was told to make a public apology after I emailed several years ago saying every white man must be expelled from the Congress. So I was rebuked and I was told to write an apology. But I did, I obeyed, and I wrote an apology, but it was a backhanded apology. So anyway,
You obeyed?
I just said, let's...
Who told you, see, you make me jump in now, who told you to write an apology that you had to obey?
Well, Priest Advar. I don't know him, I've never met him, but he's a priest, right? And he spoke to me as an empress. I was hoping that other brethren would have probably jumped in and said, well, no, you know, the apology is not necessary, but because no other priest spoke up. And, you know, and in, you know, consistent with the Baba Shanti principle, I lived on the foundation for a few years back in the early 80s. And, you know, people like to say that the Baba Shanti woman is oppressed, but we're not oppressed. But we are humble. We learn humility. Humility is an important part of the Empress principles. You understand? And we don't fight with brethren. We respect them in the same way that they're expected to respect us, and we don't call each other out of our names, right? And so a priest spoke to me and told me to apologize. And I did it, but I explained to him that I explained in my apology that that I would apologize for the way the message was delivered, but not necessarily the substance of the message.
Let's move on, Honorable Empress. We'll come back to the Caucasian in Rastafari a little later.
Yes. Yes, my lord. So where do you want us to go next?
Oh, well, honestly, you know, I thought you were just highlighting, you know, the ideas. You see, what you actually going to a point. I was the one that stopped you and came back, you know, and said that when you said no white people, but you were building, you know, that's what I was gathering. I thought you were building, but if that is not the case,
right.
I could tell you where to go for sure, eh? You know. So no problem.
Well,
no problem.
Let's get back on track then regarding the new faculty.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But we are on track. We are on track.
You know, you can. Oh, all right. Because I'm saying you can just edit out anything, you know, where I have gone. Yeah, where I've gone astray, you can just edit that out. And
tell you what, let's
with the
let's work with the spirit. Let's stay right where we were. Now, as it relates to, for example, Haile Selassie, you know, many people, one thing within the name, as you said, understanding. As I said earlier, I was saying thinking. Even in some other programs, I was saying thinking. But it's understanding, and understanding is a key thing. Because knowledge, it's good to have knowledge. A lot of people have knowledge, but a lot of people do not understand what they know. Now, there is the United Nations speech that Haile Selassie gave that is quoted from many times. Well, not the speech, but a specific segment of the speech, you know, that of course many ones know. Bob Marley has sung within the song War, which speaks of until the philosophy of that whole one race superior and another inferior. Everyone knows it. This is something that is used many times to defend the
Justify.
accepting all ones. But just give me a second to build on it.
Inclusion.
Accepting all ones.
Yeah.
I have a different outlook on that specific speech. I mean, I've spoken of it. I'm not going to hog the program and try to break it down now. But I could say that I have heard the king, at least if you want to be specific, I have heard the interpreter say in English because I don't know the Amharic. So there's a specific interview, a meet the press interview that Haile Selassie did when he went to the United States. The same time he gave that United Nations speech too in 1963. And Miss Frederick, I think she was from NBC, and she was asking the emperor about, if white people would have to leave Africa. That's to show you the kind of level the king was on at the time. We overlook these things. She was asking him, an NBC reporter, if white people, what choice do they have? Do they have to leave Africa, or do they stay and accept domination from the white man? And within the emperor's answer, I think it's more to the end, he made a statement, and I'm sorry I have to paraphrase it, but I know I have, the context right. But he was saying that he actually said, there's no difference between black and white. They are exactly the same. Now, again, knowledge and understanding, that's what he said, at least according to the interpreter. And ones would use that and say, well, he was speaking geopolitically, because in reality, I mean, we can look at this on different levels. And I'm an individual, I'm not hogging the whole time. Just give me a second here. I'm an individual. I mean, I look at things on different layers. And the different nations are not the same. So obviously that comment must have been in some context, because they're not the same. The fact that we, as the melanated individuals with the specific hair type, the ninth ether, our existence has been like millions of years in comparison to any other, not just Caucasians now, any other what we call race on the planet. Basically is just yesterday. If this was a book, they're like at the last page of the book. If this was the 24-hour day, all the other races came like the last 2 hours of the day, and that's just reality. And I'm just saying now, so there's obviously, when God created man, it's the black man as we know the black man, what we call the African. That is what was created. So obviously, it's not a fact, it's not a vibration where anyone could try to equate the black nation with anyone else. And I think just science alone has proven, the different levels that the black nation, when black supremacy ruled the world, we have evidence to prove how black supremacy performed. And we also have evidence to prove how white supremacy performed. But outside of all of that, the emperor say, and that's what you're going to come down to, especially if it's Rasta you're talking to. You could talk around the world 20 times. The emperor say, you can interpret it the way you want to. The emperor say, black and white are exactly the same. Then now, when I was crowned as a Bobo Shanti now, me personally, I read it, I think it was point number 5. No white men are to be a part of this Congress. A white Bobo specifically tell me, he tell me this, well, he said white men, and Bobo have a thing with men and man. And man is God in flesh, and men is Satan is flesh. So he was using that one, he said, look at men. I mean, when just say white people, he gonna say white men any which way you turn it. But then, although it says that, one will tell you, and the Bobo thing is a complex thing. A man will tell you about Jap crown a white man priest. And I'm just being angel's advocate here as well. I'm not trying to express my whole feelings. I'll take forever to do that. But I'm putting all the different cards on the table for you, because that is what coming at you when you bring up these points, whether it's for or against. So, and different ideas and different angles, as I said, they'll say, crown a white man priest. But they will tell you, I'm going to say, I'm talking of King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. But again, you still have the reason for that. Ones would say, well, that was just done because. I hear it many times, my sis. He had to go on a dip. Yes, family, blessed love. As you would have noticed, there was a bit of intermission there. We had a little technical difficulty, but we're going to continue the discussion for those who are seeing this on the edited side of it. We're not going to start over again. The Honorable Empress will just continue from where we left off as it relates to the new faculty of understanding. Yes, my sister, we continue. Take it away.
Yes, my Lord. Yes, my Lord. Blessed love.
Blessed.
All right. So, continuing from our prior discussion last night, right? So the whole purpose of the new faculty of understanding for Rastafari is to revisit the original goals and objective of the movement, culture, and to see to reaffirm our commitment to the core values and the principles of Rastafari, but also to examine the doctrine itself and to see if the needs of the Black race, of Black people, see if it's still relevant, and what aspect of the culture is it sufficiently responsive to the contemporary situation of Black people, right? So we want to, as I said, reaffirm the core values of the movement.
Movement, yes.
And reaffirm our commitment to those, and to examine the culture going forward and see how it has evolved over these last several decades, and if it is serving the needs of the Black race the way it was designed to do. So that is right. So in aid of that objective, we had sent out a list of questions to various organizations, mansions, groups, societies, whatever, to sort of give us a feedback as to those things that they would like to see discussed within the context of a new faculty of understanding for Rastafari. Those issues within the culture that they believe needs addressing, and social issues, economic issues, spiritual issues, just issues within the within the culture, my Lord, that right? And another important aspect of this new faculty of interpreting is how do we incorporate the practices and the customs and the traditions of our brothers and sisters who born on the African continent and who come from who are steeped into their original culture, their traditional culture. How then can Rastafari peacefully coexist with our brothers and sisters on the continent who have their own, as I said, indigenous practice? Because the fact of the matter is this, Honorable Isaac, the fact of the matter is this: everything that you and I know, it comes from a Western perspective. It's a white European paradigm that we live in. So that the way the world is organized, right? The way we acquire information and knowledge, the way we interpret the information and the knowledge, right? What we accept as fact, it's all Eurocentric. It's all, European based. So our view of the world, the view of the world we have is from a white perspective. Moreover, initially, when the movement, just came into being, we were not as exposed to indigenous African culture the way we are today. So we made the best decision we could at the time with the information that we had. But now that we are more enlightened, now that we are more exposed, and been, interacting with our brothers and sisters on the continent, then I believe that, Rastafari culture has to expand to facilitate some of the practices that, some of the African customs and practices, because it's supposed to be about Africa. Because the whole idea, was for us to return home to Africa, right? No, Rastafari, as it is perceived and it was conceptualized and perceived, and it is currently practiced, right? That is the vehicle that would have gotten us home. But once we have gotten home, to what extent now do we now immerse ourselves in local culture? Because some of the important questions that needs answering is that, is Rastafari, the way it is presently constituted, the way it was formed, and the way it evolved here in the West, right, as it exists now, is it the only way to access the divine? Or do our brothers and sisters on the continent, do they have legitimate ways of accessing the divine outside of Rastafari culture as it is structured and as we perceive it? Because, we must not get hung up on labels, right? Because, it was Shakespeare who said that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So can we identify, can we see, are we big enough to see Rastafari practices within other cultures? Because we're talking about values, we're talking about values, we're talking about principles. So whatever name a particular value or principle goes by, it is still that same value and principle. So are we big enough? Are we wise enough? Are we open-minded enough? Are we willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn? Right? Can we identify Rastafari practices and principles in indigenous African cultures? So those are some of the things that I believe that we ought to discuss.
Yes.
My Lord.
Yes, give thanks. Okay. Interesting. Am I still coming through clear? I hope I'm coming through clear. I'm gonna yeah, I know how it is with this, with technology. And even if I have a little glitch, I think on the recording side it should be clear, because you were quite clear a moment ago with a one or two little glitch. Okay, if I could just build, as I said, I know from the previous, we're still going to get back to a lot of things we were talking of before, just for the audience sake. But we decided to continue to build from this level, and I think it will bring us, basically where we were when we cut off, on a more level of understanding when we get there. But okay, Rastafari in general. Let's say, for example, the Nyabingi order. And when I say Nyabingi, you know that Bobo Shanti is the Nyabingi order too. I mean, the group that we call Bingi, with out of full love and respect, is officially the Nyabingi theocracy of Rastafari. It's a name. That's the official name. The Bobo Shanti order is a Nyabingi as well, but it's not a name as such. It's the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. Now, I'm saying, question number one, doesn't the Nyabingi order that basically would have almost evolved out of Rasta, with maybe a touch of certain, influence from Africa, of course, wouldn't that stand as an African tradition, number one? And then number two, as far as the African traditions as we know them, because personally, I have utmost respect for the different traditions in Africa. And because, I think I've gotten away from like the religious mind frame. I don't have to start the judging who's right and who's wrong thing, because that's like a psychological, mental mind bending situation that we're in. But at the same time, although I respect them, I know the level of respect that I'm dealing with, and love and appreciation too, and admiration, I tell you, but at the same time, people would meet me, especially, sometimes when I travel and say, wow, you look like a Maasai. People go as far as to say, I spend weeks with the Maasai, and yes, you look like them, I believe your blood, and blah, blah, blah. But, and I respect and I love the Maasai, and I can see the link, but honestly, even if I would to trace myself back to the Maasai, I'm not going to drink no cow blood. And I'm not going to drink the cow milk, and I definitely not going to drink the cow blood. Maybe I should have put it that way.
Yeah.
There's certain traditions, you don't, the sacrifice of the goat, the chicken, whatever, is no disrespect at all. But I personally, I wouldn't lean to that. I wouldn't pierce my lips and encourage it amongst my family members. But again, I mean, amongst Africa, there's no war, It's just different people do their different things, their different traditions. Who am I to say that they do not have a connection with the divine and the all in all? They are a part of the all in all. They are a part of the eternal being that is, the source of it. So I'm just asking, as you said, how do we incorporate Rastafari into the African tradition? Wouldn't you see Rastafari itself? And I'm highlighting the Nyabingi order, although all Rasta don't directly deal, some don't even beat drums. But I'm just highlighting the Nyabingi order as, the mainstream, and most people know Rastas for the drum. Wouldn't you see that as an indigenous, homegrown yet grown in the diaspora order that is now returning to Africa, not necessarily trying to infuse itself with what has been set, not trying to take piece of what has been set, because there's so many different traditions in Africa, and for us to try to take a piece of everything, it's almost a waste of time. So we're all unique in our own way. What do you think?
Yes, it will be confusion. But what I refer to most, especially, is say the use of the Bible and the hymn book. That
okay,
is not
there we go.
Right. That is not an African practice, right? We are the first people on the face of the earth, black man and black woman. And when the Creator created the world, He did not hand us a Bible and a hymn book, because the Bible is within us. Right? And the song is also in our hearts. So that righteousness needs no holy book. Right? The righteousness is within us. We are the gods. That is the thing that I love most about Bobo Shanti. Emmanuel taught me that it is us. We are the gods and the goddesses. And we need to see ourselves as such and work towards that fullness. And that is the greatest liberation of my life, was to have learned that. Right? The other day I was talking to a priest, the Honorable Priest Campbell, and he said, if you're imagining God and seeing a face, a physical face of an individual, you have not achieved highest level of spirituality yet. You understand? Mm-hmm. If you see in a particular person, and it is not just self, because you have to see yourself as God. That is the Bobo Shanti teaching, and then you work to make it, to bring it into being, to make it so, right? Your lifestyle, your practices, the way you deal with your brothers and sisters, you make it a reality. And I know that Bobo Shanti culture it differs quite a bit from mainstream Rastafari culture in that regard. In that regard, it teaches us that the black man and black woman, man of right, is God in flesh. So, I don't think anyone, any other, mansion outside of Bobo Shanti, subscribes to that theory.
To the Bible and the hymn book.
No, but to say that man of right is God influenced.
Oh, right. Oh,
But
pardon me. Yes. I get you. Yes, you're correct. Yeah. Man of right. Yes. That's really our culture.
I
Pardon me.
mentioned the Bible. But with respect to the Bible and the hymn book, once again, I do not believe that we as Rastafari from in the diaspora going to Africa have a right to impose on the indigenous Africans the Bible and the hymn book if it is not within their culture, because righteousness, no one needs the Bible you don't need the Bible for righteousness. You don't need the Quran. You need no holy book for righteousness. Righteousness is just righteousness, right? So you don't need any holy book for it. So that's why some people are hung up on the Bible. Yeah, and then they will quote to you where the Majesty says, I glory in the Bible.
Right.
And yes, but I am the Bible.
What do you think of that?
No, and I are the Bible. It is you, the Honorable Priest Isaac. It is me, Empress Marina. We are the Bible. Of course, the man glory in the Bible. It's us. There's no greater Bible than you and I. Mm-hmm. The King James, the Gideon version. There's no greater Bible than us. So.
But when the king speaking of the Bible, okay, just like the previous discussion we were speaking about, in context, of course I'm being angel's advocate again here. So yes. When the king is speaking, in that same speech, when he speaks the Bible, you say he's speaking of humanity. Because remember, he even quote, he said, remember it was written in the book of Acts of the Apostles, how Philip baptized the first Ethiopian official, and from that day, XYZ. But what I'm saying, he quoted from a book. You wouldn't say he's speaking of the book. No, I'm just asking.
Right, well, he has to reference something. There has to be a common point of reference.
Okay, and fair enough.
Since people know the King James, most people know the King James version. So in order to he would have to reference what most people are familiar with.
Okay, no, because it is a serious thing within Rastafari, especially in the last few years, especially with the increase of knowledge. It has come up with that the Bible is not really kept in high regards like maybe before by some. But what I would do say, okay, we mentioned Haile Selassie, but as Rastafari, for real, the words of Haile Selassie is always a very strong point, especially if it is an argument you're bringing to Rastafari as a people. I like to go, but as far as the history of the Bible, if you were to go in a search engine and you were to type the oldest Bible, the Ethiopian books always appear. And that's just, let's say, Google. But with study, at least from our knowledge, at least from my understanding, the oldest known, not just Bible, the oldest known Christian literature actually in Ethiopia, all the way down to the New Testament, etc. How would you put that? So, in other words, it's considered, like I just did an interview with Saifa Selassie, and he was talking about the Tewahedo church, in opposition to the Orthodox church. And he was stressing that it is an African, not a borrowed from overseas or from the Levant. How would you see that as it relates to the Ethiopian Bible? Wouldn't you see it's an origin from Ethiopia itself?
Once again, as I said, righteousness predates the Bible. Righteousness has always existed before the Bible. The Creator is not a Christian. The Creator does not subscribe to religion. Righteousness exists, and it is not encompassed in the Bible. It exists outside of the Bible, and that's what I'm saying. I have said this before. Listen to me. I have said this 100. I have said this 100 times. If I were born in the jungles of the Amazon, I would not know Emperor Haile Selassie. I would not know King Emmanuel. I would not know Marcus Garvey. I would know Muhammad or Allah. I would know any of the Hindu gods. All right? But I would still know the divine.
I agree.
Divine is accessed in the culture into which I was born.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
So within that context, yes. And then now with respect to talk about context and, people, sort of citing the words of His Majesty in defense of a particular position, I want to say this. And this is a rule in law. When you are interpreting a statute or a regulation in law, or you were even to in a trial where we were to bring in character reference, you would refer to a person's overall, right, the way they have lived their lives. And the one thing I know is this, that the emperor was a Pan-Africanist.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I always interpret his words in a context that gives power to Pan-Africanism. You understand? So
Yes.
I will never interpret the emperor's word in a manner that conflicts or that undermines his Pan-Africanism. Do you understand? So that, and what people try to do, because they're dishonest, they try to make the exception the rule. They try to make the exception the rule, right? So, my Lord, if I know that the emperor is a Pan-Africanist, that means everything that he says and he does must be interpreted in such a way as to give life to his Pan-African doctrine and philosophy. If I know you as a Sabbath keeper, right? I know the Honorable Priest Isaac as a Sabbath keeper. And on 2 consecutive Sabbaths, I am out on the road and I see you outside, maybe going to the pharmacy or in the supermarket. I do not know that if that is sufficient evidence to say that Priest Isaac no longer, he no longer practices, he no longer keeps Sabbath. Do you understand? Because you see, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So if I'm going to say His Majesty is in favor of white in Rastafari, for example, or let us say King Emmanuel, someone will say, but King Emmanuel crowned a white man as priest. So that is, we'll take that as evidence. So you're going to tell me this one.
Okay.
This one instant.
That's a good example.
You're going to take this one instant and wipe 90 years. 90 years. Yes. So there's this person doing this thing for 90 years. And what he makes, that is overreaching. That's desperate. You understand?
Okay. Yeah,
so
I
if
get
a person wants to that the man who name is Congress.
That's a very good example.
Yeah, the man who name is Congress, the Ethiopia, Africa, Black Congress, and then turn around and call us Bobo Shanti. If you're going to tell me that the man who deliberately did that and has doctrine, that's a no white man can be into this thing, and you're going to suddenly, you're saying, oh, he crowned a white man as priest. Therefore, that erases his 90 years of as a black supremacy man. You understand? No, that evidence is not sufficient. It can't stand up in court. It is not sufficient to overcome the way the man has lived his life the past 90 years. It is not sufficient. And it is not sufficient in this context. King Emmanuel was a Pan-Africanist. He said black supremacy. He was not trying to create a rainbow coalition as some people are trying to do now. Listen to me. Rastafari is not about a test in the concept of one love. Okay? So it's not a hippie thing. So This is a black supremacist movement, black people liberation movement. And it must remain as such if it is to be effective. If it is to do what it was designed to do, then it must stay true to its original objective and principles. And that principle in particular is especially important because we know what happens when you get white people mixed up into black people, right? And I'll demonstrate further. Studies have shown that when you have single gender schools, when you have all girls school and you have all boys school, girls do extremely well in math and science. The hard sciences that generally they say girls don't do well in, right? Usually they assign girls to like soft science. We're good in soft science. The hard science, the boys do better. But when you have girls in single gender school, all girls school, they excel in math and they excel in science. The minute and in a co-ed situation,
boys and girls,
your performance in those subjects go down, right? It drops, right? It diminishes their performance. You know why? Because they naturally adapt to the expectations of the larger society. Where girls don't do so well in those subjects. Boys are the dominant ones in those subjects. They automatically adapt, unconsciously, unconsciously, because most of what we do is unconscious. So even when you have Rastafari now, you have Rastafari, a black liberation movement, and you come and you bring in white people. Black people naturally hang back and let white people take the reins. Because this is how we have been socialized. This is a psychological hit job that has been done to us that we naturally defer to the white man. And we're not strong enough yet to resist it. So we cannot afford to bring white man into this thing. They will take it over like they do everything else that belongs to black people. And the history is replete with these types of examples. But it's as if we have not learned. It is as if we have not learned. And we need to make these decisions consciously. And we need to be mindful of the long-term implications of our decisions. So it's not about offending. You don't want to offend your white brethren. Offend him. By all means, offend him. And save and for the benefit of black people. Rastafari must remain black. If the white man wants to help, let him help from outside, from the periphery. But he cannot. He will not be admitted, and especially not take center stage. Because white men, they will do what they do, which is try to dominate and control. And if they can't dominate and control, then we'll destroy. And we know who they are. So we don't have to spell and guess. So that is my argument, and I maintain it. And as I said, I had made a declaration some years ago that all white people should be expelled from the Congress, and I was reprimanded for that. But I tell you that my opinion remains unchanged on that issue. My Lord.
You don't mind, I think I did already, but I don't want to. I did already, but it was off screen. And I know you are an attorney at law and everything. I don't want to have under no vibes, you know what I mean? The chalice I'm talking about.
My Lord, I saw you.
All right, next pop I'll come off screen because I wasn't. So yes, so since we're there, because I'm coming back to the Holy Book, I'm a sort of person you learn about me. I just like clarity on certain things, and the argument is clear with what we say. There's some things I want to go back with the Holy Book story, but since we're on the Caucasian and not just the Congress, when we were doing the first half of the interview, the first part, you specified you're talking of Rasta in general. It should not be a part. You mentioned that we're not strong enough as yet. One of the things I like to harp is that King Emmanuel, speaking of the white race, says that we should feed them with a long spoon. And I don't know how much you really follow up, but that is something that I kick at all the time, you know, something we totally neglect about feeding with a long spoon. But, you know, as the Honorable Empress, you know, would have tried in this order before I had even had a more intimate, if you want to say, relationship with the Black Christ and everything that goes with it. From my culture and learning, again, yes, the long spoon philosophy, etc. And as I said, I saw it with my eyes on the paper, no white men shall be a part of this Congress. But I hear this culture harp that, okay, Africa for the African, but then Europe for the Europeans. Now, even as a historian, I know the whole world belongs to us, as I said previously. We've been here for how long? So it's our world. I just obviously see it as maybe the mercy of the Most High would allow those that came along to dwell maybe where they originated. But that's like a staple in the Congress, Africa for the Africans, you know, Europe for the Europeans. I know Marcus say Africa for the Africans, but I think we kind of Europe for the Europeans, Asia for the Asians, China for the Chinese, and all of these different things. And China is a black man country too, you know. But I'm just going with what we say.
Well, I mean,
Now, but I'm going to come to it quickly. So, but what I'm saying now, I am taught that while feeding with a long spoon, we are supposed to teach the other nations this order. This is bubble teaching that I get. You could correct me if it's right or wrong. We're supposed to teach the other nations this order and send them back to their people to teach them the order. So is that something you agree with? Because in the visioning of that, I see them as, if this is the order you're teaching them, this is the order. So they would look like Rastafari. How do you see that concept there?
We're teaching them the philosophy, right? So that they can go back and educate their own kind. But they cannot minister to you and me.
Okay, fair enough. But fair, but they can be Rastafari.
To themselves and to each other. Well, I mean, if you can, word, me.
No, let me take you.
What we're teaching them decency. We're teaching them love. We're teaching them equality. We're teaching them justice. So those are the qualities they must take back and teach to their own people. They can, whether they want to call themselves Rasta or not, it's on to them. But I am saying it is the quality, the values, the moral. It's the morality that we're teaching them. So however they want to close it, they may do so, but they should have no place in our Congress, and especially the position of power. Position of power.
No, well, I totally agree. Now I make it plain. I say I do not minister on altars with Caucasian priests, and even if I mean this is something I just don't want to take up your time and go on against my show, yeah, you know, but straight up, I mean, I'm very clear with my outlook on these things. I have no hatred for no one. Sometimes it's sad that you have to preempt what you're saying with all of this butter up stuff and like you don't hate nobody and you're not, you know, whatever you have to say. But the reality is that there is a position. Now, what I would say, my Honorable Empress here, is that even as I said previously, we as the original people, you mentioned a moment ago, there is a, what you call it, a rep sheet, reputation sheet, that we would be silly silly to just drop your guard. That's where the long spoon thing come up. You feed with a long spoon, like you across the room. I'm feeding you, you know. But I have a long spoon. And listen to me, if you are a white person and you have some problem, if you're a white person and you are, let's say, Bobo Shanti, which I just say technically, and I've spoken about that, technically that is impossible. That's like saying that, you know, a Bobo Shanti is an ethnic people. You know, it is DNA. It is DNA and RNA. It's not like we hate nobody, you know, man. It's DNA and RNA. It's what do you call it? Your genes, your genotype and your phenotype. That's what a Bobo Shanti is. It's not a basketball team. You understand? It's not a club. It's an inborn blood type. Put your blood under the microscope. Let's test it. You got to be African to be a Bobo Shanti. Even if you don't carry the name, even if you're Fanti, even if you're Yoruba, even if you're a Bozo, or even if you're the Dogons, we can still find, because all of them people related. That's one thing we know. They may have different names in different parts, but if you go deep, some of them migrated and burst into, and it's the same people on the other cross side of the river. But we're not Europeans, and Europeans are not us. So to be a Bobo Shanti, technically, you got to be an African. Now, the name, we're not members of Bobo Shanti as such, you know. We're members of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. How do you see the fourth word, international? You did mention Ethiopia, Black, and Africa.
Yes, but the international is that we are all over the world. The black man is everywhere. So that's where the international comes in. So, right? So we cater to the black man wherever he may be located. That is how I interpret the international in the name and the EABIC. But I want to make this other point, my lord.
Go ahead. Each
time we talk about not having white people in the Congress, as you said, you have to preface it by, oh, I don't hate anybody, I don't. You understand? Well, every other race is allowed to celebrate and safeguard their culture without a cry of racism, but not the black man. When black people say that Rastafari culture is the exclusive domain of black people, there is a cry of racism. But Rastafari knows that expressing cultural pride and exclusivity is not racism. Rastafari also knows that resisting racism is not racism. The white man has effectively convinced black people into believing that self-love is racism when practiced by the black man. But Rastafari asks black people to be intelligent enough to distinguish between ideologies designed to promote racism and those designed to protect a people against a constant assault of white supremacy. So there is a distinction, my lord.
Yes.
So resisting racism, it is not racist to resist racism. It is not racist to safeguard yourself against racism. Black people need an exclusive place to heal, a culture that is our own. We need a white-free zone.
Definitely. Of course. Of course. Do you agree that Rastafari could provide that zone? When I say, let me explain. And just to finish up that part there, and we could move on to. You have in different groups, for example, we have the Women Freedom Liberation League. The Women Freedom Liberation League and other organizations have a Women League, Mothers League, whatever. Women's meeting. If a few brothers are around to help and to just secure, that's understanding. But this is for the sisters. We have a gathering where we gather for the brothers. No women around. All the brothers gather. We have it all over the world, different, churches, groups, whatever. Brothers. It is sad that we cannot have a meeting and we can't say no Caucasians, even if we have Caucasians that are, even if they're in the camp yard, brethren, you can't come this meeting here tonight. And if anybody was to be upset, I mean a Caucasian, well, obviously that alone, because the standard I expect from me, I mentioned yesterday John Brown. John Brown is, I don't know if you know the history of John Brown. John Brown is a killer there that would take up arms and give Negroes arms and put his life on the line. He was hung. Him and his sons were hung for treason or something, because assisting black people to get away from slavery and giving them guns. And to me, if you are a European or any other nation and you're holding on to the black God concept, you have to come with a spirit of John Brown. You can't just come and be sailing too much of the, sorry for the language, but too much Negroes around here sailing already. Much less for you to come in here sailing. No man, you have to come in, you have to show me. See, like how you say King Emmanuel sent the man to Greece, is John Brown, I don't know his heart, but I know he was sent on the front line to stand up in front of the tanks. And if you come in to be able to meddle in black man redemption, that's how I look. Yeah, you're supposed to be the infantry soldiers. Yeah, go on and deal with your old granduncle that has robbed us of all our silvers and gold. You go buy the ticket, go and confront them. Not in your name for you, no man. For us. Yeah, put your life on the line if you're serious. That's how I look at it, eh? And I'm looking at it with the philosophy that has been taught to me, that we are supposed to teach the other nations. To be honest, and sister, if it wasn't for that teachings from Bobo Shanti, I think I would be harsher in my mentality. You know what I mean? When it comes to
for sure,
for what Caucasians have done to us,
sure.
After seeing that history, man, it turned my mind. But because of that teaching, is Bobo bring me so now, like, yeah, my Lord, you have to, no man, you have to love on everybody, and you know what I mean, just so everybody can come in, my Lord. Just you have to teach them, and long, yeah, I tell you the truth.
Indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, my sister, but with the Bible and the hymn book as well, outside of the philosophy of the emperor, how does that stick with, for example, Rastafari holds strong to the Solomonic lineage and the Davidic lineage and the lineage of Haile Selassie coming through the ages. Now I know there are those that query that. But this is something that the emperor holds on to. And that's another thing, my sister. In this new faculty of understanding, I think those of us as races, we need to, there must be something about the emperor that we're not connected here. Because there are too many things that the emperor speak about and appear to hold on to, that we that say that we admire and follow him seem to brush it aside. For example, the same Solomonic lineage. This is something that he partook in, and he born and meet people talking about it, and he said, yeah man, I'll join the show. If you say that's me, that's me. How is it that he holds so strong to that? Even if you question him with that, he would show you some sort. You know how it is, how the kings say when you try to question him about certain things. He'll tell you, this is our ancient tradition. You know, this has come down from our forefathers. So how is it that we as Rastafari can easily put that aside? Taking that, if you put the Bible aside. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, that is the $10 million question. Because if we are to be honest, there are many disconnects between, you know, between who we say the emperor is and who he is, right? Between what the emperor does and what he yes. There's a huge disconnect. And it has been pointed to us times and times again by non-Rastafari people in their books and in their articles, and say, I mean, the most fundamental one was, it's the one that people always say, but Selassie never have dread. Selassie never wasn't a Rasta. Selassie wasn't,
Yeah,
and then I said, but Christ wasn't a Christian. And them jump back, yeah, because Christ wasn't a Christian. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't seem to have a problem with that.
Mm.
So when, we need to sit down and we need an ecumenical conference and we have to decide what the standard answers to those types of questions. But on the face of it, if they're going to point out the inconsistencies in your beliefs, then you can simply point out inconsistencies in their belief. I mean, it doesn't solve the inconsistencies in your belief, but at a minimum, you can say to them, you understand?
Yep,
But
definitely.
here are some disconnects too in your, and you seem not to pay any attention to that, right? So,
totally
it's even with even with my children, when they will say, ask certain questions and say, but this doesn't line up, this doesn't add up, and I say, listen to me, living with unanswered questions is a part of every faith. And they may be unanswerable now, but the answer may, we may arrive at an answer, in time to come. So, I mean, you can't, right. So living with unanswerable questions is a part of every faith. And then we have to recognize that there's faith and there's scholarship. So you cannot, George Rasta, if you cannot, an academic argument for try to defeat Rasta, but you have a pass to the Christian that with all the mysticism and the things that the same types of things that you're willing to overlook in Christianity, but you want to hold Rastafari feet for the fire, for those same types of beliefs right then. Yeah? So if we're going to use an academic standard, let us use one across the board. And if we're going to use a religious standard, then we'll use one straight across the board. All right? But you cannot talk about inconsistencies in Rastafari without similarly talking about inconsistencies in Christianity. So, I mean, I don't know if that is, if that is an acceptable answer. It kicks the can down the road. It really doesn't answer. When people point out the inconsistency in your belief system, and you point it out in theirs, as I said, still have not addressed. So you're basically kicking the road. I mean, you can't get gangster and say, and listen, the truth is what we declare it to be. And it lies not in the facts, but in the telling.
Right. Yes, I could understand that. You see, the reason why I ask these questions too and the way I ask them, because as you know, as you're presenting, I know it's not you alone and you have a crew. The whole faculty of understanding is, as I said, very complex. It's not narrowed down at all. It's not like one thing, it's many different things. So I don't know, maybe the new faculty might become multifaceted as well. And why, I home in, for example, back to the Bible, the hymn book, again, hymn book. This is one thing that I'm very passionate about, is the hymns that we sing as Bobo Shanti too. For example, during either the Emperor Earth Strong, 23rd of July, 7th of January. Sometimes, ones will draw for the hymn like Joy to the World, Joy to the World.
Yeah.
I mean, them things I can't, look, you want to know me, whoever the leading priest is, especially if I'm a part of this, I will go to him and say, my Lord, please, we don't want to joy to the world, my Lord. I said, boy, my Lord, just I sing by the people now, and I said, man, come on, man, time moving on, man. If Jah was here, my Lord, time we stop singing that, my Lord. I could bet you, if King Emmanuel in the same way we know him amongst us, things progress. You can't be singing joy to the world forever. But what I'm saying, really, because King Emmanuel is a man of understanding. We were coming out of the dust, you know what I mean? Man give us fish and bread. You understand? They have Priest Morgan tell me that King Emmanuel said, man, got to stop eat fish soon. But of course, there are those that will carry on the level and say, well, no, man, I like chatting with the man from the 50s and it's fish and bread and something. But those are baby stages, getting you off of the swine and the pig and the hog and the frog. I mean, a little fish and bread and some vegetables, but as the man said, the time gonna come when they need to drop that too. So I see it as a progression stage. So the same thing. I've been told that the Black Christ say that we gonna have to rewrite our own hymn books. I've heard that recently, and I need to write our own hymn books, just like how we create the choruses. But see, there's a difference between writing new books and books that talk. One of your arguments is that we don't need any book.
Well, let me qualify that. What I'm saying is that righteousness does not emanate from the Bible and the hymn book.
I get you.
Righteousness outside of the sources. You know, it's like when people talk about Christian values. Those values aren't Christian values. Those are values that Christianity has adopted. So, yes, so that it is not that we must not use a book or we cannot use a book. But I am saying the book is not the do-all and the end-all. So that if a person does not read the Bible, it does not qualify him from being a righteous person. It does not disqualify him from praising the Almighty. If a person does not sing from a hymn book, that does not negate righteousness. So, so the only way we know how to praise the Almighty is the Bible and the hymn book. But there are people who praise the Almighty in their indigenous cultures all over the world, never seen a Bible or a hymn book. It makes their praise to the Almighty no less authentic, no less genuine, no less righteous. So what I'm saying is that we can't use a book. I am saying that righteousness does not come from the book. It exists above the book. That's not, God belongs to no religion. He sits above religion. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, so that is the point I want to make. That people get so caught up. So if you have a person who says, burn the Bible, there are people who say, oh. Listen, I'm good either way. Burn the Bible, I don't burn the Bible. I don't, I'm good either way. You understand me? I am looking, yes. I'm looking forward to the day when I wean myself off the Bible, just like it's when wean yourself off of fish and bread, bread. So the fish and bread. Yeah, the day when I can wean myself off of the Bible, but get back to, our very holistic. We were not handed a Bible or a hymn book, and yet still the course and people who they say are the oldest people in the world, right? In South Africa. Do they have a Bible? Do they have a hymn book? No. But I bet they access the divine.
I hear.
Anthropologists say that they have never found a culture that does not have a spiritual component. But they have found many cultures that don't have a Bible or hymn book, but never any that does not have a way of summoning.
Definitely.
So that's what I'm saying to the Bible.
Yeah. Animals spiritually connected, eh?
Listen, yes. People, we see the divine in the earth and in the sky, right? In the water, in the trees. We see the divine everywhere. So we need to, eventually, listen to me. Rastafari is the vehicle that we have right here in the West. But as we move forward to perfection, we need the Bible less and less, and the hymn book even less. Yeah, as we come more into our
I could get you.
Divine self. As we come more into our true divine self,
I get that, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. But how far away is that? As you say, wean off. Shouldn't we be weaning off, or you think as Rastafari we're moving too slow to get to this stage?
I mean, people move at their own pace, right? We're all at different stages for development.
Right, we have to be, okay, for example, this is a very important thing. What about the position of the woman, Rastafari and the woman? I mean, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the other program we were doing. Bridget and myself, there was this argument about, you know, coming into the Nyabingi house with head covered and turban and something. I mean, that's as you said a while ago, that's neither here nor there with me personally, but somehow the argument was around me though. But I mean, that's neither here nor there with me. But anyway, long story short, so the brother, pardon me? Okay, so the brother was saying.
Yeah, but our order calls, our order, the Baba Shanti order, Rastafari, it requires the woman to have her hair covered.
No, well, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about the head of the woman cover. The brother was saying now, as far as the woman, he was saying that the woman not supposed to say this is a Nyabingi house, not Baba Shanti, the Nyabingi theocracy. He's saying that the woman not supposed to say nothing in the church. So I remember I was, let's say, at the Bingi one Sunday, and one of the elder mamas was saying something. So I brought that up to him. I said, but how the elder mama such and such, you know what I mean, was saying this word here. And he said, no, there's an elder mama. He said, no, she's not supposed to talk in the church. I was kind of stunned. I said, okay, man still on them archaic kind of mentality. With me and the mama can't say nothing. And it was a simple thing. She was just showing that something that was on a paper wasn't printed correctly. I said, no, she's supposed to tell that to her husband. So I said, but Bridget, in the Baba Shanti house, your man is saying Rastafari woman this and the woman can't be this and all of that. I have seen several, especially around Woman Freedom Liberation Day, where the daughters them carry up service and singing hymn and chorus as Baba Shanti, not a Baba Shanti. You understand? So in general though, but I still know even in Baba Shanti, you still, you know what I mean, there's certain things that you hear, even the woman them talk about. How do you feel Rastafari is now with the woman and with the new faculty of understanding, where you think we should go with that
one? Right. So, I mean, throughout the world, the woman has always been made subordinate to the man. So Rastaman did not invent that, right? But we are disappointed in him that he has taken it up so strongly, that he has adopted it. We would have hoped that, because Rastafari is about equal rights and justice, that the equal rights of the woman would similarly be safeguarded and would not necessarily have to be, you know, subsumed under the man. But Rastafari has come a long way in the society around it, right? So it was in the wider society, it was in Rastafari. Although some people see it as even more oppressive within Rastafari culture than outside of Rastafari culture. But as I said, the Women's Liberation League precisely formed to give the woman a voice. Now, there are some things in place where, you know, obviously the Women's Freedom Liberation League can't go without a priest being present.
That's true.
Right? Yes. So, and even when the daughters, you know, have care of service, they cannot go on the altar. They can only, you know, yes, but they cannot take the altar. So there are still those divisions within the Congress, and you know, I am betwixt and between. I am betwixt and between. I must be honest with that, and it's difficult because my daughter says I'm part of the problem because I still subscribe to rules and regulations that
Congress
do not deprive women of equal standing with man. So I struggle with that. But what I'm particularly concerned about, the 21-day principle is something that really, I see the benefit of it. I have lived it, and I see the necessity for it in a camp setting. if it weren't for the 21-day principle, first of all, we'd be having children left, right, and center. And we didn't have the resources to feed all of those children, all of the children that we would have had if there was no 21 days. 21 days served a very, very effective form of birth control, first and foremost. It also keep the empresses fresh and young. We get to rest, and that's why we look so good. But I tell you, there's a downside, because had I been keeping 21 days, I could not have gone to law school. After I left the foundation and, my husband and I, and back to the United States and everything. If I were keeping 21-day principle, I could not achieve what I achieved. Similarly, I have other Baba Shanti sisters, nurses today, who had to hide when they were going to nurse school. You understand? It's not a little bit of fire we take to pursue our education. So within Baba Shanti culture, I find out that the Nyabingi house very much open and receptive to education in a way that Baba Shanti was not. And that accounts for the fact that's why the Nyabingi daughter them, bright and well educated to a much larger degree than the Baba Shanti daughter them. Because education was not, it was not, should I say, what is the word? I want to be careful to pick the right word.
Accepted. It wasn't accepted. It was.
Well, all right. Yes, that is, there you go. That's very enough. Right. Accept. It wasn't right. It's we're Baba Shanti. We're almost ostracized. You know how much attack we come under just to go to school. The daughter down in Florida to hide to a nursing school. You understand? Mm-hmm. And so that mindset, we need to we need to let go of those practices that that foster and maintain gender inequality as much as we can. Because education is important.
That 21 day
educate and nation. Yes,
I'm just saying that 21 day discussion come up every now and again, especially when I have different priests and 21 discussion, different outlooks on it and different meditation. But I like how you said it first, that for a camp setting, and a lot of things that we do, I really consider them for a camp setting, that you negate the understanding of the concept. But, okay, let's just say universal kitchen. Obviously, that's for a camp setting. There's certainly you just can't do when you're not there. Pardon, you go ahead.
The ministering angel, the path for the ministering angel to walk, which is not under the ark. How can you maintain that outside of a camp setting?
Right.
You understand me? It's a culture. Remember, it's a culture, And within a culture, structures and systems are put in place to facilitate the practices and the principles of that culture. Right? So it is not a hardship on the foundation to the 21-day principle, because the entire place is set up to facilitate that. It is set up to facilitate Sabbath keeping. No work is being done on Sabbath from Friday evening, 6 o'clock. Everything lock up. Everything done until after 6 Saturday. So there are no distractions because things are put in place. The Sabbath lunch is there. So you don't have to light a match Saturday morning to get some hot tea. It's in your thermos. The gate not opening. Son, we are inside Sabbath. We're keeping Sabbath. So the entire, it's a culture. So you can't take one aspect of a culture and transplant it to somewhere else and think it's going to work. It's a system, it's part of a system. And the system is simply not out here, not outside of the camp.
Rastafari.
So
Yes, sis, I wouldn't hold it forever, no, but I want to touch
Yes.
two things that I think very important. If we're talking about the thinking of Rastafari, as far as the divinity of Haile Selassie, and I want to come back to something personal with King Emmanuel, but as far as the divinity of Haile Selassie, that's one thing I think Rastafari have in common. They have in common the divinity of Haile Selassie first. You know,
My Lord, you had gone, you were frozen for a while. I didn't hear what you said, Majesty.
okay, yeah, I see that you frozen a bit there too. I was speaking of the divinity of Haile Selassie the first as Rastafari. That also would be a very important, if not maybe the most important aspect, because that would trickle down into beliefs and non-beliefs. You would be surprised. We were speaking earlier of, like, you know, there are many aspects of the emperor that we actually do not keep up. You know, many aspects, traditionally speaking. But the point is that the Emperor Haile Selassie I, we have him in a divine light. That's the point. Some see him as the Son of God. Some would argue that he is the returned Christ. Some would go as far as to tell you he is the second Jesus. Some would tell you, well, he ain't none of them people there. He's a cosmic being. Some will tell you he is the Almighty God, like God Almighty. That's God Almighty with a face. You know, and there are different ways of it, and some equate him, you know, different ways. So, how do you believe we should be looking at the emperor? Because seeing him divine does not necessarily mean, you know, for example, some will tell you that the emperor not only is still alive, but can never drop this structure here. And a person that would be a more understanding of an African tradition may tell you, well, listen, man, nobody can prove the emperor dead, you know, but if the emperor put down the structure, that don't mean nothing, brother. That's just a natural thing. It's the soul and the spirit. So there's still different outlooks of the whole divinity of the king. Do you think it's toxic, some of the outlooks, or do you think it's all right? Just think what you want to think. Let's work on the statical part of our affairs.
Right, and let's you know, whatever. Listen to me. Any of those categorization of the emperor, they're correct. Cosmic being, God Almighty, the Son of God, the returned Christ.
Right.
Anyone would be correct. Right. So yes. So let us see your perception of the man. How does it cause you to behave? That is what I'm most concerned with. Right? How does it cause you to behave? And you know, that is it. Yeah. How does it impact your behavior and the way you treat others? Yes. That would be my response to that.
Okay, well, positive. All right, fair enough. Because, you know, yeah, I agree, you know. But, you know, and maybe because I live it, that there, within the thinking, the faculty of the thinking, there are a lot of tug of war. For example, as Bobo Shanti, you know, ones are, especially those who are very dogmatic in their faith, it's almost an insult to even try to place Prince Emmanuel somehow next to the king, or even in the same room or downstairs, wherever you have it.
I have heard that time and times again.
But without going into the concept, I just want to know, in us closing, being around the Honorable King Emmanuel, what you could share with us, you know, any little thing that you would have to say, whatever it is.
Well, he was a
I
wise
don't know,
man.
you talk it straight, eh?
He was a wise man. I didn't live on the foundation that long, to be honest.
Okay.
It was about 2.5 years. Yes.
Longer than me.
My husband and I, we left the United States. I think it was 1979, and we moved to Jamaica and lived on the hill that period of time, and I learned a lot because I'm telling you that I didn't even know Rastafari culture that much, you know. I didn't, and I tell people as well, I didn't even come into Rasta, come into Bobo, because that was my first exposure. Rastafari culture, Bobo was. That was the gateway for me. So some people were Rastafari, just generally, and then they love Bobo Shanti culture. I learned about Bobo Shanti culture, and that was my immersion into Rastafari. And I can tell you that Prince Emmanuel is the greatest influence in my life, even more than my mother, more than my father, more than my parents, more than my family. Greatest influence in my life. When the man said, "You're a queen and a goddess," he was a wise man. Because I'd always felt myself to be a queen and a goddess. So that the culture is empowering. It is liberating and it's uplifting. But I mean, that is true of Rastafari culture in general. I think that Rastafari culture, I am telling you, it lifts me up. It lifts me up so that when I see what is happening with the, you know, out in the wider world, I mean, I'm not divorced from it. I'm not unaffected by it because I do grieve for, you know, for what is happening to the black man. But I also know who I am. I know, so my confidence is in myself, not shaken, because I know who I am. I do not depend on any outside influence for my legitimacy. No, because my legitimacy comes from Rastafari.
All right.
So, as you said, in closing, I want to say, listen, Rastafari is the predictable and necessary response to the sustained assault on Black people's dignity. We need Rastafari.
Good times.
Self-knowledge and self-consciousness are extremely difficult to discover, but when found, it is impossible to go of. And that is what Rastafari is for me. So, as I said last night to you, as far as I am concerned, Rastafari is the perfect convergence of spirituality and cultural pride. For Black people. So we ask the Rastafari to find peace, Rastafari. To find liberation, Rastafari. To find self-worth, Rastafari. To find his humanity, his dignity, Rastafari. Blessed Lord, my Lord.
Yes, Honorable Empress,
Honorable.
It skipped a bit, but I heard you clearly. Well, I give thanks. New faculty of understanding. Is there any connection, any sort of social media, anything you want to share with the people, or any future plans for the new faculty? When will they hear a bit on the next level? Any launching seminars, webinars, anything before you go?
Next May in Ethiopia, my Lord. Next May in Ethiopia, from the 21st to the 25th, okay, 2021. Okay. And let me just say it here now, as the convener of that group, I would like to extend an invitation to the my Lord to travel to Ethiopia to attend a summit. Majesty.
Majesty. Let's Haile Selassie will be done. That's really good. Let Jah will be done, okay? I with you. Let Jah will be done. Well, I definitely with you, sure. But let Jah will be done. Definitely.
My Lord.
All right, Honorable Empress, give thanks again. Blessed love, we do really appreciate, or as we say, appreciate love the time. And this is something we definitely have to go deeper into. There are many things I could also ask as it relates to Rastafari, but I'll leave it at that for the moment. And yeah, I think the mind needs to be open for sure. I'm a person that I definitely see Rastafari in many of the ancient cosmic orders. Things that we burn on fire, burn this and fire, burn statue and graven images, but yet still I could see that Rastafari has its consciousness within all of that throughout time and throughout ages. So for sure, I know for sure there's a need for a new level of understanding in this hour amongst Rastafari. So Empress, give thanks. Have a wonderful evening, and we will speak again. Blessed love.